Good afternoon and welcome back to, good morning and welcome back to Bald Father Bets, everyone. We're going to do our recap of NFL Week 6. We got a few plays all in the NFL that we've added to this upcoming window, one on Monday night, two on Sunday. But first, please make sure you're subscribed to the channel, notifications on. Give this video some love, like, share, comment. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are on the NFL landscape currently, and as well on some of those Week 6 results. So starting out on Thursday, Giants and Eagles. This is more in my opinion, this is more of a concern for the Eagles than it is like some amazing thing for the Giants. I still have a lot of concern with the Giants when it comes to the offensive weapons they have at wide receiver. Losing Neighbors the way they did is such a hit to what they can do offensively. So I'm not going to focus too much on that. I want to focus a little bit on the Eagles because I've been telling you guys now for a while, the Eagles remind me a lot of 2023. If they cannot get the push from their offensive line to open up Saquon, this becomes a very problematic offense. In 2024, Jalen would average about 24 pass attempts per game, and you want him in that around 20 range. Jalen is not a throw the ball 50 times guy and beat you. You do not want a 2014 Super Bowl where Tom Brady had to throw the ball 50 some odd times against the Seahawks. Because if you do that with Jalen, he doesn't have the elite arm talent to stand in the pocket and do that. You need specific designed pass plays that are set up off of run plays. Now, they don't necessarily have to be play action because he's actually not the best to play action, but they have to be set up off of a run look that then allows him to be rhythm in his throws, have him on the rollout, allow him to utilize his legs. And when they're doing that, Jalen's probably the most effective quarterback in the NFL when it comes to those things. They're not very creative right now on offense. A.J. Brown, I think, has run a curl route like 90% of his routes. It's the wildest thing. The guy runs up, he stops at about 6 or 7 yards, he curls down, and they're doing that almost every single route with him. At some point, they're going to have to break tendency because they're not, without Mekhi Becton, and then with some of the injuries that they've had on the offensive line, they're just not getting that same push to where when Saquon takes the ball, the offensive line has already made a push 1, 2, 3 yards down the field, and then the holes have opened up, and then at that point, Saquon's as good as anyone in the league except for maybe Bijan Robinson at making a free guy miss. So there's concern here with the Eagles, a lot of concern actually. On the defensive side, they're just not as strong on defensive line as they were before, and essentially the whole strength of the defensive line rests around Jalen Carter, which is fine because Jalen Carter's probably going to be the best defensive lineman in the NFL, definitely defensive tackle within the next few years. The problem is that Jalen Carter hasn't been 100% healthy this year. So we have pretty strong concerns right now with the Eagles as a team. There's a reason we said that we didn't like them to win the division to start the year, and we're sticking with that, honestly. We have some concerns. That needs to stay monitored. Broncos Jets, there's not much to talk about, honestly. What a shite game. Apologize, London. That is not our best product. Hopefully we do better in the future. That was really bad. Jets defense is playing pretty well under Aaron Glenn. The offense is not. That's about as much as you could say. For the Broncos, winning a game 13-11 against the Jets, I will continue to point back to all you people who said the Broncos were going to win the AFC West over the Chiefs this offseason. Do some soul searching in the mirror as to why you said that. Wishful thinking on your part. I get it. People don't like the Chiefs and Mahomes. Wishful thinking. I don't know if you saw the Chiefs and Mahomes this past Sunday night against the Lions. But that team's better this year than they were last year. I don't care if they're 3-3 and if they were 6-0. It doesn't matter. That team is better, and they're getting Rashee Rice back this week. they're probably the best team in the NFL, honestly. It's between them and the Lions right now, but I would give it to the Chiefs, just because they're proven and they have Patrick Mahomes. In those early window games, I thought the Colts did a really nice job to get a victory against the Cardinals. Colts showing that they can win games multiple ways. Still think they're probably a little overvalued right now. They've become a little bit of a darling of fan bases, of people maybe whose team is currently underperforming. They're like, well, I'm going to join on and watch the Colts this year. McAfee probably has a lot to do too with like the country kind of falling in love with the Colts because they're getting so much attention. The thing that is not false is the performance of Daniel Jones. Indianapolis Jones is quite real in terms of how well he's performing. A lot of that has to do with accuracy on his throws, extending plays with his legs, ability to complete a deep ball, things that the Colts just haven't had in that offense for quite some time, and they have it with him. Really good team. Probably still a little bit overvalued. Nice job by the Cardinals to get a bounce back, have a good performance. The injury situation in Arizona, though, is mounting to a point to where, man, like you got to feel for Gannon and those guys, because it does seem like when they're healthy, they have a good team and they move in the right direction with each other. So that's tough. Chargers able to eke out a win. They're another team that just dealing with injuries to a point to where it's like that's tough, and dealing with injuries at locations and positions in their team that are crucial to a Jim Harbaugh style coach team. We'll see if they can weather this storm continuously, but that's a really intriguing matchup this week between the Chargers and the Colts, and one we're gonna lay a pick on here at the end of this video. So if the Chargers get healthy, they're a Super Bowl contender by the end of the year. They got to weather this storm of having a lot of these people out. It's just tough because they're not getting Slater back, and he just does so much for them on the offensive line. Browns Steelers, man, that was a tough one for us in terms of a betting standpoint. Browns plus the points is my favorite pick of the week, and they very much so under-delivered. Steelers continue to just own that organization and that franchise. Steelers, you're starting to get a little bit of vintage Aaron Rodgers play, not peak prime Green Bay play, but closer to what he was pre-Achilles tear than post-Achilles tear when he's been with the Jets. DK Metcalf playing really well. Let's see if they can continue it. When TJ Watt is healthy, the defense is very formidable. When you have Hayward and Watt together, it's difficult to score on them. So we're not all in on the Steelers yet, but we are definitely in a watch mode on them. It would be pretty difficult for them at this point to lose that division, right? Because Browns aren't winning that division. Bengals are just trying to get a wild card spot in the playoff to get Burrow back. And the Ravens at this point, even if they won out, like they have a bye week this week, they should get Lamar back, even if they won out, which they're not going to. Steelers would have to have a pretty intense collapse with their record where they're at right now to lose that one. And then the one loss they do have is to the Seahawks, and there are some, especially DVOA metrics, that would tell you the Seahawks might be the best team in the NFL. I don't think they are, but just eye test as well, and just knowing who they are, who the quarterback is, all that stuff. There's some metrics that tell you that they are, which means they're at least a very, very good team. And that's the Steelers' only loss. So, Cowboys continue to not be able to stop anything on defense. Nice win for the Panthers, but we're not going to make too much out of that one. Same thing with the Patriots and Saints, right? We're not going to make too much out of that one. Nice job by the Patriots overcoming some horrendous officiating by the NFL there. Seahawks and Jags. This doesn't make me think anything less of the Jags. I told you, DVOA would tell you the Seahawks team is top tier. Jackson Smith and Jigba, as he was my favorite wide receiver out of that whole Ohio State wide receiver core, everything that comes through. If he plays the 2022 season, I think they win the national title. He's proving what he is in the NFL, which is one of the top receivers. And I think give it a few years, he will be in that tier 1 discussion of wide receivers. I don't think he's better than Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase right now, but give it a few years and he's going to be in that tier 1. Rams, Ravens, when you're dealing with all those injuries like you are the Ravens, you can't get stopped at the goal line heading into the second half. I think they had 4 tries from within the 2-yard line. Couldn't get it in. I actually thought outside of that the Ravens played pretty well, holding the Rams to 17. We have to see what we got on Puka Nacua. They are in London this next week, and then they get a bye after the London trip. I would be surprised if Nacua makes a go of it, given that the travel, right? That's going to cause swelling on the ankle, being in the air that long, and then you get a bye week next week. So, I mean, you're having a good season. Do you really need this game against the Jags? So we'll see what they do at Nacua, but I'd be surprised if he plays. Ravens just got to get a bye. They got to get something healthy back, and they should get a lot of pieces back. I mean, the biggest one being Lamar, and then they got to go on a run. If they get in, they'll be dangerous, but they put themselves behind the 8 ball so far. I don't know if a team has ever made the playoffs starting 1-5. Maybe there's been some injury thing where it's happened, but I can't think in recent memory of a team making the playoffs at 1-5. So yeah. After an in window, there really wasn't a whole lot to make of anything. Packers let the Bengals kind of hang around, and then they got back in it with that 4th and 5 completion to Chase for a touchdown. Bucks and 49ers, Baker, man, just continues to show. I mean, losing Egbuka during the middle of the game, so he's out there throwing to himself. I mean, Tez Johnson's pretty good, but he's out. He doesn't have anybody. He's on wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, and RB1 all out of the game, and he's out there getting them wins. Now, don't be wrong, San Francisco's as banged up as anyone, but he continues to be the MVP so far this season and impressive. Raiders, Titans, yes, we won a bet on the Raiders, but at what cost? We lost our hero, 4-19 ATS in his career. Absolute money-making machine. In fact, you know what? We already did a moment of silence for him. We're going to do a second moment of silence for him. That's how much he meant to us. And the moment is over. Then Sunday Night Football. That was as difficult as a spot for the Lions as they have had. I told you that bet was guaranteed to lose. We just kind of made a little bit of a rule when it came to the Lions in terms of betting against them. I almost flipped it while in the middle of making the video last week, and obviously I wish I would have. And don't come at me about the refs, Gabe. I am okay if you are a fan of a team and you get screwed over playing the Chiefs and you complain about officiating. That's perfectly fair. That's perfectly fine. If you are a bettor and you have not factored in to Chiefs games yet that they will unproportionately get calls, because data shows it. Data shows that in the Mahomes era, they have unproportionately gotten calls. If you have not factored that into your betting yet, stop betting on sports. And if you complain about it, I don't want to hear it. It's the same thing I gave you guys in the AFC Championship game against the Bills last year. Do not come to me after this game is over, when you have lost the bet, because the Bills were not walking into Arrowhead and getting a win, and especially with what they're going up against the refs, and come to me and complain about calls. Because I'm going to tell you, you had the data and the information heading into the game, and you still placed the bet. So I don't want to hear it. The Lions were never going to go into Arrowhead and win that game. The Chiefs needed it, and the Chiefs are in the top 3 teams in the NFL this year, and they get Rashee Rice back. I told you guys, they played one game against the Eagles last year and got blown out in a situation where they had no offensive line. going up against what was maybe one of the best pass rushes and defensive lines in the past 15, 20-ish years in the NFL. And people acted like the Chiefs were done. And I'm just, I get why sportsbooks make so much money off of people who bet, because people are idiots. The Chiefs are not done. The dynasty is not over. Patrick Mahomes is not washed. So hopefully maybe people are realizing that, especially after the game that they had against the Lions Sunday night. Monday Night Football. We have serious concerns for the Bills. They will get people back healthy. They run a 4-2-5 on defense. Weakness of a 4-2-5 is a power run game. Falcons can do that as good as anyone. In a 4-2-5, your two at linebacker are as crucial as anything. They didn't have Matt Milano. I get all that. On the offensive side, they're down probably their top two. They're top in Dalton Kincaid and maybe number 3 in Curtis Samuel. Shakir's probably their 2 target. If you build your team around Superman and he's not able to deliver, and then you look around and the rest of the team is maybe not at where they need to be or they're injured, you're going to have a difficult time in the NFL winning games. The Carolina Panthers with Cam Newton are a very good example of this when they got in the Super Bowl against Denver. That Carolina team, statistically, if you go back and look, is probably one of the best teams to not win a Super Bowl. Cam Newton is probably the best season MVP, whatever, to not win a Super Bowl. Well, I don't know, Lamar 2 years ago was pretty wild. And then Josh Allen last year was honestly pretty wild too. He's in the conversation. So what the Bills have done here is they've set themselves up to where they've set themselves up to play with a lead, which is fine because most of the time they're going to have a lead because they have Josh Allen. So most of the time they're going to be up against the 75% of teams that can't really compete with the fact that they have Josh Allen. They're going to go up early, and then they have pass rushers to be able to go get you when you're trying to throw to win the game. The problem is they can't stop the run. And so when you go up against the 25% of teams that actually can compete with you in a game, it brings your level of ability to control or win that game down substantially. And you just can't, teams who can't stop the run don't win Super Bowls. It's just a facet in the NFL. If you can't stop the run, you can't win the game. The Colts had to learn it the hard way. You know, they did the same thing where we're going to get a lead on you because we have Peyton Manning, and then we're going to tee off on you with Dwight Freeney and Robert Mathis. And that was fine for 12 wins a year, 13 wins a year, 14 wins a year. But then when they went up against select teams who actually could get them out of that game plan, and they didn't have run stopping issues the way the Bills do. I mean, the Bills are like one of the worst run stopping teams in the NFL. But when they get you out of that, you can't win football games that way. So I want to clarify my statements when I'm saying that like the Bills aren't a good team. The Bills are going to win. They're going to make the playoffs. They're going to win a good portion of their games. They're not this juggernaut that everyone says they are until they address the fact that they can't stop the run. And until that happens, I'm really not going to take them seriously. And when they go up against teams like the Falcons in primetime on the road, who's maybe one of the best rushing attacks in the NFL, you're damn right we're going to take +4, and we're going to hit it for 5 or plus units. So it's just they got to get some things cleaned up. I like Daboll as a coach. I like Beane as a GM, but I'm shocked that they've let this go on this long without addressing it. I really am. And then the other game, Monday night, Washington and Chicago. You can't deny what Ben Johnson's done with this offense, as well as just the team feels different. They answer questions differently when they get interviewed. They're much more militaristic. They're much more a lot of. It reminds me a little bit of what you saw when Campbell came to the Lions, and just the disorganization that turned into organization very quickly. You feel that a little bit with Chicago right now. And when a game gets late and you need one offensive drive to get you there, Ben Johnson's in his bag and he's cooking. And you can see that Caleb trusts him. And so that's a big plus for them. That's a really big plus for them. Yeah. All right, that's it for our recap of Week 6 NFL. We're laying you 3 more picks for this upcoming week. So on Sunday, we're taking the Titans plus 7.5 against Patriots for 3 units. With our boy gone, with our hero gone, we're back open on betting on the Titans. This is going to be a very emotional game with Vrabes coming back to Tennessee. This organization wants this one. There's a reason they fired Brian when they did before this game. They did not want to get dunked on by Vrabes. Usually in these situations, think Tom Brady going back to New England favored by 7. New England covers. Russell Wilson going back to Seattle, Denver favored by 9. Seattle wins and covers and wins. Usually in these situations, these underdogs tend to have a little bit get up for the game, and we like that in this spot. So Titans plus 7.5, 3 units. Also interim coach boost game. Hopefully Cam Ward feels freed in this situation. Then we are taking the Chargers minus the 1 against the Colts for 5 units. Love it. Chargers getting a little bit healthier in this situation. Very difficult travel spot for the Colts. Afternoon game, travel out west. Herbert still playing pretty phenomenal. Defense is mainly too where the Chargers are getting a little bit healthier finally this week. Still the issues on the offensive line, but the Colts aren't necessarily a pass rush team that like terrifies us there, or a defensive line team that terrifies us there. So Chargers at home, and we're essentially to pick. We're only having to lay the 1. We get a push if they were to win by 1. We just need them to win. We like the Chargers in that spot for 5 units. And then Monday night, we already gave you guys the late game, so then we're adding Lions minus 5 against the Bucks. Both teams dealing with injuries in 2 areas that are going up against each other. But if Mike Evans doesn't go, this is then the second week in a row where the Bucks have literally no one to throw to. So if the Lions were ever to pick a week to be thin in the secondary, it's now, because there's nothing on that Buccaneers offense in terms of offensive weapons. And we have serious concern about the Buccaneers defense going up against this Lions offense. I know it's a Todd Bowles defense. I know they're physical. I know they're tough. Lions off a loss under Campbell. Lions off a game where they don't feel they performed best physically or running the ball. Lions off a game where St. Brown dropped, I think, the first ball in his career in Detroit on a Monday night. I have a lot of concerns for the Bucs defense here, a lot. So we like the Lions. We're laying the 5 units. That's it. We'll be at you hopefully later today with our Thursday night football pick. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy Thursday night football tonight. But like I said, I'll get with you guys before then. Talk to you later.